Narcissistic fathers are toxic parents who are typically grandiose in narcissistic style, bragging about their superiority to family and friends, while tearing down their own immediate family without mercy in the privacy of their own home. They are harshly critical of their children, whom they feel are extensions of their own identity and reflections of their parenting ability. Let's take a closer look at the following 10 common ways a narcissistic father can damage his daughter. Number 1. Sense of inadequacy. Because many daughters of narcissistic fathers develop insecure attachment styles, they often view themselves as inadequate. Their father likely has been harshly critical of them from a young age, and they have been left with the view of themselves as not enough. That sense of inadequacy can affect their decisions throughout the course of their lives. They might not, for example, pursue opportunities they might otherwise would because they don't believe themselves to be up to the task. It also has a profoundly negative effect on their relationships. They either become people pleasers or they avoid intimacy altogether. It is one of the most difficult self-concepts to overcome, since it tends to underline numerous personality traits that can limit an individual's life. Number 2. Failed adult relationships. Narcissistic fathers often damage their daughters so severely that they are unable to form healthy adult relationships. Instead, they move from one relationship to another, seeking something they can't quite define. They are looking for someone to love them unconditionally, something a narcissist can never do. They tend to sabotage the relationships they do have as they engage in dysfunctional behaviors designed to force the issue. Number 3. Anxiety and depression. Of course, the insecure attachment styles that a daughter of a narcissistic father develops leaves her feeling anxious for most of her life. Added to that is the difficulty she typically has in making decisions and forming healthy relationships. It's easy to see how her chronic anxiety can lead to depression. Depression has a dramatic effect on relationships and her ability to make decisions. It can leave her feeling paralyzed and uncertain regarding how to proceed. She may experience a sense of hopelessness. Such anxiety and depression can cause the daughter of such a toxic father to need medication for the rest of her life. Number 4. Daddy complex. Many daughters of narcissistic fathers develop daddy issues. Their father was their first real love relationship with a man. As a narcissist, he couldn't give her the unconditional love every child craves. As a result, she spends much of her adult life trying to recreate the relationship and make it work out right this time. She is desperately seeking his love, and it is something he will never be able to give her, not in the way she fantasizes anyway. It creates a sad string of broken relationships and a deepening sense of failure for the daughter. It reaffirms what her father taught her, that she is essentially unlovable. Number 5. Fear of intimacy. Because her father was aloof and even neglectful, the daughter of a narcissistic father often learns to fear intimacy herself. Her father used any knowledge of her likes, dislikes, and vulnerabilities against her. That often teaches her to fear intimacy, because if someone knows her that well, they are likely to use that knowledge against her for their own benefit. So she becomes increasingly fearful of getting too close, much like her own father. This fear prevents her from forming healthy, close adult relationships, and that cements her belief that she is inherently flawed, which can result in her being alone for much of her life. Number 6. Alienation from other close family members. Narcissistic parents use a technique called triangulation against their own family members. They tell one family member one thing and another something entirely different. They do this to create drama within the family and prevent the formation of close relationships. Narcissists will even use triangulation against their own children, and it is an insidious technique that serves to alienate their children from one another and their other parent. They can't trust anyone, and it causes infighting and hurt feelings that can destroy relationships. The narcissist wants this exact outcome since it will prevent other family members from aligning against him. A narcissistic father doesn't want his children to get together and compare notes, so he would rather destroy their relationships before that can happen. Number 7. Risky behaviors. Another effect of having a narcissistic father is that his daughter may begin to engage in riskier and riskier behaviors as she gets older. She is trying to get her father's attention and love, and she may decide that the best way to do that is to put herself at risk. This may mean choosing increasingly risky romantic partners, boys and men her father would never approve of. Or it may mean using drugs or drinking excessively. She feels that if she hurts herself in some way, her father will finally pay attention to her. Of course, her narcissistic father doesn't see this kind of behavior for what it is, a cry for help. Instead, he sees it as a personal insult against him, and he typically lashes out at her even more harshly. This drives her away even further, and her behavior can become more extreme as a result. She is looking to get him to show that he notices her and loves her. But the nature of his personality disorder is such that all he can see is how she is damaging his carefully crafted image. Number 8. Codependency. Another type of damage that a narcissistic father inflicts on his daughter is something called codependency. Codependency is formed when a child learns that their needs don't matter. You can learn about how it differs from narcissism in this video. They are raised in a family where they are not prioritized, and as a result, they learn to put their own needs aside in favor of pleasing the other people in the family. This is a typical reaction of a daughter to the abuse she suffers from her narcissistic father. She wants to please him. She wants him to notice how wonderful she is, but he can't see her. She becomes a people pleaser to show him her inherent value, but he never appreciates it. Once the pattern of codependency develops, it follows an individual into adulthood. They seek out adult relationships where they become equally codependent. It is, after all, what they know as normal. Number 9. Inability to form friendships with other women. Another very damaging result of the abuse a daughter suffers from her narcissistic father is that she lacks the ability to form friendships with other women. She is focused on her relationships with men in her life, and she disregards female friends. She is overly focused on trying to gain her father's love, and she can't see the value of having female friends. It often results in her being overly sexualized, and she is unable to develop deep friendships. That often prevents her from getting the kind of advice most women need as they seek out male partners. She doesn't have the female perspective she needs to see more clearly the problems and patterns in her choices. And number 10, body dysmorphic disorder. Narcissistic fathers frequently objectify their daughters and teach them that their appearance takes precedent over other characteristics. They learn to obsess over their weight and notice only the flaws in their appearance. Often these flaws that would be unnoticeable to other people, but to an overly critical narcissistic father and his damaged daughter, they take center stage. This can result in eating disorders as well as severe mental problems that plague a woman her entire life. The narcissistic father does this as a manipulation technique. He wants his daughter to reflect what he believes is his own perfection, and flaws in her appearance make him look bad. He cares little about how this affects his daughter. In the end, the abuse a narcissistic father heaps on his daughter causes many different types of damage. Sometimes this can last for the rest of her life, and it often has a profound effect on her ability to form healthy adult relationships. He uses her vulnerabilities to manipulate her, and the damage he does leaves severe emotional wounds that he then uses to trigger her sense of vulnerability so that he can manipulate her more easily. But you don't have to endure that if you're the daughter of a narcissistic father. I've created a 5-step roadmap to heal emotional triggers that is designed to help you recognize your emotional triggers and diffuse them, while you heal the underlying wounds that created them. If he can't trigger you, he can't use those old wounds to manipulate you. That's an important element of your healing journey. If you would like your free copy of this handy guide, just click on the link below the video and I'll send it directly to your inbox. Thanks for watching.